Responding to just your unread messages is not enough to have a successful sales channel. For all my entrepreneurs, consultants, agency owners, and even salespeople, it is critically important to have a foundational process for follow-up and outreach. If not, you're going to lose so many great conversations, so many potential deals that are going to fall through the cracks of you not tracking properly and being able to have these conversations move forward consistently and with certainty. Today, I'm going to break down a 3-step guide for follow-up to take you through tagging, using a CRM and mini CRM, and then following up and reviving cold leads. Let's get into it. All right. So first of all, one of the most important things when it comes to tracking outreach, follow-up of any type, whether it be cold or warm, is tagging your conversations. In this case, I like to usually use first follow-up, second follow-up, and then third follow-up. So let me explain this first. There can be so many times where you're having a great conversation with somebody, you send a last message asking a question, maybe they just don't get back to you. You take the weekend, figure out your message, and that conversation gets colder and colder and colder as time moves on. If you don't use tracking filters like first follow-up, second follow-up, and third follow-up, you're going to have no way to backtrack and circle back to these conversations to make sure they're still going. So you can ping somebody, say, hey, make sure you got this. Hey, did you have any other questions about that? Or look for ways to provide more value. Tracking my first, second, and third follow-up is critical. And I don't like to usually go beyond third follow-up because then it can get to the point where you might be spamming somebody, right? If they're not interested. At that point, I would mark a conversation gone cold. But to first and foremost actually explain what first follow-up, second follow-up, and third follow-up look like, let me take you over to a couple messaging examples. All right, so I'm going to use an example from one of my dear clients, Logan Skis. I'm going to backtrack about 3 months ago just to kind of show you how the conversation would work in regards to tagging. Basically, we're chatting. I asked if you wanted to grab some time to chat up here. Absolutely. How does Thursday work? That works great. If you don't mind, go ahead and grab it on my Calendly. So after that, I would go ahead and mark this conversation first follow-up. And you can do this in an Excel spreadsheet. You can track their name, their LinkedIn profile, and then track their actual status of follow-up. In this case, I move down a little bit and I say, looking forward to it in a separate message. But let's go ahead and say, for example, that I said, hey, did you get my message or were you still planning on grabbing some time, in case he didn't respond, right? So in this case, if I were to send another message, maybe 2, 3, 4 days later, I would then unlabel it as first follow-up and mark it as second follow-up. And as long as there's a block to where you've sent 2, 3 messages without them responding, 3 messages would then be marked as third follow-up. But then say, for example, as soon as somebody responds and I send another message after the conversation is initially moving, I would then mark it first follow-up again. This is critically important to make sure that you aren't having these conversations fall through the cracks, because I could have sent this message, we were booking a meeting, and I never would have followed up with him, and he may have never booked that meeting, right? So hopefully this helps you start to understand how important it is to track the status of follow-up on each conversation you're having. And moving into step number 2, it's going to be having a CRM or mini CRM to effectively help you track that. So like I was saying, you can use a actual Excel spreadsheet to help track things manually as kind of a mini CRM. In this case, my software Delta Lead actually has the functionality to filter by follow-ups. So I have it set up like this to where I do a certain type of follow-up every single day to make sure I'm getting messages out to somebody every 3 days, every 4 days, whatever it may be. And this is going to make sure, again, that you're going back, you're reaching through your connections, you're reaching through your current conversations and past conversations to make sure everything is moving forward. Again, if you aren't doing this, you're going to be losing out on these conversations. All right, so for those of you who don't have Delta Lead yet or aren't using an automation software or any softwares in general to help you track these conversations, like I said, you need to have a mini CRM in place. So I'm actually going to share one with you. You'll be able to copy this link down in the description as well as the LinkedIn post that I'm making about this video. But this is going to allow you to start manually tracking and moving these conversations forwards by tagging. So let me explain it for you real quick. Now, as you can see, I have 3 columns here that are pretty much the bare bones mandatory. It's going to be initial outreach, their name, and initial outreach is the initial day that you actually reach out to them or send a connection request, and then their LinkedIn profile URL. This is going to ensure that if you don't have 2, 3 Garrett Millers, you're going to be making sure you're speaking to the right one. Now, the cool part is with status, you're able to tag these conversations as they happen. So say, for example, I sent a connection request yesterday to Garrett Miller. He accepted it. And then now I'm going to send the message on connection accepted. Now I have this filter in there because it's not necessarily a first follow-up. You can go straight and tag it as first follow-up if you'd like. But sending that message after a connection request is accepted is sometimes a step you want to track that's separate from the first follow-up. Now, say I sent the message, he didn't respond. Now I want to send a first follow-up. Oh, he didn't respond to that. Now I want to send a second follow-up. Oh, he actually responded to the second follow-up. So now I want to label it as first follow-up again. This is going to allow you to track and move these conversations forward. If you change the status every single time you have any movement or any activity on that conversation. And then in order for you to be able to track things moving forward, you can filter by first follow-up. And as you can see, there's 3 here. You can go down the line and knock out your outreach each day. Say for today, you want to do third follow-up. And then you're going to knock that out each day. So how I recommend you build it out, and I'm going to go ahead and type it here and I'll delete it, is say, for example, on Monday, we have Tuesday, we have Wednesday, we have Thursday, and then we have Friday. So you don't just want to go 1, 2, 3, because then you're going to be reaching out to people who've, say on Monday, you reach out to a person, you get a first follow-up. Well, then Tuesday, your list is not going to be super different with second follow-up. So you may accidentally send the first message or second follow-up to somebody after 1 day, which usually isn't enough time for pretty much anybody to respond if they're intending to. Now, the way we do it actually is reverse. So start on Monday with third follow-up, then on Tuesday with second follow-up, then on Wednesday with first follow-up, and then on Thursday, you go back to third follow-up. So this ensures that there's going to be at least 3 days in between people you're reaching out to with third follow-up. Say, for example, you reach out to somebody with first follow-up on Wednesday, and then you're going to hit them again on Friday with second follow-up. So there's a 2-day space. And if you go one, you're going to be reaching out to people on Monday. And you basically kind of go in this reverse pattern to where you're basically staggering things. So this is just to kind of explain what it looked like in the next week, for example. So this ensures that you're going to have at least a 2 to 5 day break between messages. So you're not just sending follow-up every single day. So say, for example, on Monday, I log in, I want to do my third follow-up today. So I type that in, and it's only 2 here right now, but I'll be able to knock everybody out. That'll be good for the day, right? And then on Tuesday, I'll come to Command F and type second follow-up. And then I'll be able to handle everybody and move everybody else to third follow-up. So you're having that kind of staggered pattern. Hopefully this helps kind of you understand how it's broken down and how things move forward in that sense. But again, I want you all to have this resource because tracking is critically important, tagging these conversations, making sure that none of these conversations are falling through the cracks. So again, you can download this in the description down below or in the LinkedIn post from this video. So now we're going to move on to the third and final step of this process, which is nurturing leads after they've gone cold. Now you've sent first follow-up, second follow-up, even third follow-up to somebody and they haven't responded. Now it's about time to mark the lead as gone cold, which you can do here in this sheet. So click on that and it'll be marked as gone cold. Now, Garrett, you may be asking, does this mean that the lead is no longer viable? Does this mean there no longer can be a potential client for me? Absolutely not. You still have the opportunity to nurture them and contact them. They just weren't ready to talk at this point. So I recommend reaching out to someone who's gone cold every 1 to 3 months, depending on how forward you want to be, what industry you're in, and how often you want to touch base. Now, a lot of that is personal preference. It just depends on what works best for you. So once you mark somebody as gone cold, say, for example, it's been a month and you want to follow up, I just want to say, here in notes, followed up 10-9. So when you come here to Command F and search for gone cold, and you're going through this list like we were talking about earlier, where you can just enter through and go through everybody, you can see that you followed up with them last on 10-9. So they can stay labeled as gone cold until they respond. You keep a conversation going again, and you're able to mark as first follow-up again. So that's a step-by-step breakdown on how to handle someone who's gone cold. They aren't somebody who's dead. You still want to get in touch with them at a certain point, but this timing may not be right for them. So now, hopefully I've helped you at least create a framework for a follow-up system that's going to take your leads from dropped conversations, no responses, to flourishing with meetings booked and new clients onboarding every day. If you have any questions about this strategy, feel free to book a discovery call with one of the links below. I'd be happy to have a chat to help you implement this within your own business. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk soon. Take care.